Why are you guys making it easier for people to enter the country illegally?
I don't believe we are. Why do you think we are?
Well, you guys sued to cut razor wire that was put in place by Texas officials.
So that the Border Patrol could actually do their jobs, but keep going.
Well, you won in court, so now what? The Border Patrol Union president is saying the Supreme Court's decision is going to undoubtedly encourage more illegal immigration. Do you guys know better than the Border Patrol Union?
You're going to come down and cut our razor wire? Well, you're going to have to triple your effort because we're going to add a lot more razor wire for you to cut through. Oh, and guess what? Once you cut through that razor wire, pretty sure we're just going to install some more. All right, now surely you saw the Supreme Court decision that came down that appeared to strike down Texas's ability to protect their border, siding with the federal government and their constitutional responsibility for protecting international borders. Here's how Brett Baer at Fox News reported it and the immediate reaction from Texas's Attorney General.
Now we're just hours away from the start of the primary. We had breaking news at the top of the show with the Supreme Court ruling 5-4 for a temporary restraining order on Texas along the border. Just moments ago, the Texas Attorney General, this is about the wire, the barbed wire that they put up, Texas put up. The Supreme Court's temporary order allows Biden to continue his illegal effort to aid foreign invasion of America. This is from the AG, Ken Paxton. The destruction of Texas's border barriers will not help enforce the law or keep American citizens safe. This fight is not over. I look forward to defending our state's sovereignty.
The Texas National Guard, at the order of Governor Greg Abbott, put razor wire up along the shores of the Rio Grande so to dissuade people illegally crossing that river and coming into America via Texas. So this is meant to protect Texas's border, but that also happens to be the international border. The federal Border Patrol agents were ordered to go in there and cut that razor wire. And the Texas Guards, it was a standoff. Texas National Guard wouldn't let them in. No, you will not touch our razor wire. This is like major federal versus state sovereignty questions, right? So a federal court sided with Texas. The federal government under Joe Biden asked for an injunction against that decision and said to the Supreme Court, no, please, while this is being litigated, there is going to be arguments on this, and it's going to go through the courts. While that's happening, allow the federal government to cut that wire. And rightly or wrongly, I think it was wrongly decided, but the Supreme Court voted 5-4 in this decision. As you can see, the application to vacate injunction presented to Justice Alito and by him referred to the court is granted. So that injunction was granted, which means that they overrule the court decision that allows the razor wire to stay there, and it will now allow the federal agents to come in and cut those wires. And the vote was, it included Amy Coney Barrett and John Roberts, conservative justices, or at least conservative nominated justice, siding with the three liberals. Now, just so you know, this is still being litigated. This is not a final decision. But what the court said was, until we make our final decision, we're going to have basic law stance, because this was argued back in the 90s. The state of California had a border dispute. That was back when California wasn't as far gone as it is right now. We actually had a Republican governor out there named Pete Wilson. He was suing the Clinton administration. You'll remember also there was an Arizona state law under the Obama administration where Arizona had enforced immigration laws through their state troopers and their county sheriffs. Both times those laws went to the Supreme Court, and each time the Supreme Court argued and decided that ultimately immigration and border security policy is under the federal government's responsibility. States cannot get involved. Well, we're testing that again with a different Supreme Court, and it will be decided. But in the meantime, they're defaulting to their last decision, which is the federal government is allowed to intervene here. Karine Jean-Pierre at the White House was asked specifically about what the administration is going to do now that they won this injunction.
Thanks, Karine. On the razor wire case, now that the Supreme Court has decided in favor of the administration, what is the plan? How quickly does the administration intend to remove all the razor wire that has been set up?
So I don't have the specifics on what the border security is going to do and how they're going to do it. Look, we are certainly glad that the Supreme Court made the decision to vacate the injunction that prevented border security to actually do their jobs, to do humanitarian work, to actually enforce laws.
All right. So, first of all, I don't know what humanitarian work is. I'm assuming it has something to do with the Dr. Seuss book and Horton hearing something going on inside a little flower. The hell is humanitarian work? This is a paid spokesperson.
Vacate the injunction that prevented border security to actually do their jobs, to do humanitarian work, to act.
Oh, they're so bad, but they think they're so good. But she never answered the question. The question was, when are you going to go in there and cut the razor wire? The question was never answered. Ken Paxton, the Attorney General, appeared last night on Hannity about this issue.
I think the American people are getting this after 3.5 years of complete dismantling of our immigration laws, from not building a wall to not enforcing Title 42 to not enforcing the Remain in Mexico to allowing catch and release. And as you know, drugs are being imported at the highest rate ever. We're losing our children, and crime is on the increase, and it's tremendously costly to states like mine. And to be honest, the entire country is beginning to feel the effects of the Biden immigration policies, which are basically non-existent.
Yeah, they're not immigration policies, and they're certainly not border security policies. So what's going to happen here? Again, just so you know, the entire decision that the Supreme Court made here was that federal agents cannot be prevented from cutting this razor wire. That's it. That's the entirety of the decision. So what's happening now on the Texas border? Well, this is a video from late yesterday afternoon on the Texas border. And you are not seeing federal agents dismantling razor wire. And you're not seeing Texas National Guard dismantling razor wire. Actually, what you're seeing here is the Texas National Guard installing more razor wire. That's right. Governor Greg Abbott from Texas has doubled down. In fact, they have tripled down, as you can see from this angle, because they are putting a third layer of razor wire exactly where the current controversial razor wire is. Now, why would he do this? What does any of this mean? Well, we love to applaud a smart Republican using the power of their office in an intelligent and effective way. You know, it's one thing to be able to get up at a podium and say a lot of things and get a lot of attention and get a lot of applause. But unless you can quietly, without much fanfare, execute the power that you have handed to you from the voters and actually get stuff done, then you're just a BS artist. Greg Abbott is actually getting something done here. He looked at the order. What did the order from the Supreme Court say? The order from the Supreme Court said that the federal agents have jurisdiction here and they can go ahead and cut the razor wire. Nothing in the order says that the Texas National Guard can't install the razor wire, or for that matter, install more razor wire. So what he's doing right here is basically making those federal agents' jobs a little harder. If you're going to come down and cut our razor wire, well, you're going to have to triple your effort because we're going to add a lot more razor wire for you to cut through. Oh, and guess what? Once you cut through that razor wire, pretty sure we're just going to install some more. There's nothing in this order that says Texas can't install the razor wire. It just says that the federal government can't be prevented from cutting the razor wire. And so, listen, this isn't really Fort Sumter necessarily, but it's one of the most dramatic standoffs between a state militia, the Texas National Guard, and a federal law enforcement agency, potentially backed up by, well, I don't think the U.S. military could get involved here, but I think they could actually. I can't wait to see how this plays out. But yeah, I've heard it said once, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that you're not supposed to mess with Texas. Oh, and one more thing, as everyone, argues about the razor wire and border protection and how it's affecting our economy, this flow of millions of immigrants and the resources in terms of where to house all the immigrants and where to feed them and where schools they can go to and all the things that you should be worried about, the jobs they're taking, all of it. There's one other aspect of this that we've tried to point out over and over again, and that is the national security implications. You know, there's a reason why border protection is under the Department of Homeland Security. And it seems to me that after the 9/11 terrorist attacks, it became a heightened concern for the American government to know exactly who's coming into this country and kind of regulating that process so that people can't get in here and then do horrible things to us. You know what I'm talking about? So I'm sure you've seen this video then. This is from a group called First Responders Media, citizen journalists who are talking to and trying to identify some of the people who are coming across the border. And we found this delightful man.
By the way, if you are smart enough, you will know who I am. But you are really not smart enough to know who I am. But soon you're going to know who I am. Very easy.
Wow, very easy. The entitlement.
No, believe me, I'm much better than that.
The entitlement, guys. Wow.
You will see soon.
All right, so here's a guy, tall, lanky dude. He looks like he's of Middle Eastern descent with an Arab-sounding accent. And he's saying, if you're smart enough, you'd know who I am, but you do not. But you will know who I am soon enough. Now, the guy who's the cameraman, it's not like all soaking in quite yet. You know, he says, wow, the entitlement, like you're going to come here and make such a thing for yourself that you're going to be famous. Like you should know who I am kind of thing, right? Don't you know who I am? But no, he's not saying this out of arrogance or out of braggadocious behavior. It's a threat.
By the way, if you are smart enough, you will know who I am. But you are really not smart enough to know who I am. But soon you're going to know who I am. Very easy.
Wow, very easy. The entitlement.
No, believe me, I'm much.
See, by the way, this is a learned gentleman. He's educated because he understands when the person said the entitlement and he responds. He goes, oh, no.
Believe me, I'm much better than that.
The entitlement, guys. Wow.
I'm much bigger than that. All right. Well, First Responder Media did some digging here because it's like, oh, you want to know who I am? You should find out who I am. And I think we know who he is now. Here's a side-by-side comparison of this rather frightening dude on the border and this person that you see on the right. It is a stunning resemblance. The person on the right is a person named Movsam Samadov. He's the head of the Islamic Party of Azerbaijan, and he has served 12 years in prison for terror-related charges. He was released in January of 23. Now, we don't know for sure if this person making open threats on this video is, in fact, the same person, this Movsam Samadov. We don't know that. You know who else doesn't know that? The Secretary of Homeland Security or the President of the United States. Not only do they not know if these guys are the same guys, but I assure you they have no idea where this man is right now in this country. So as we see this little dance back and forth at the border with razor wire and putting it up and Biden ordering the feds to cut it down and then Governor Abbott putting the razor wire back up, it's important. And it has to do with states' rights and the federal government and their responsibility and whether they can be held in contempt of the Constitution if they don't actually follow their basic duty of protecting our borders and protecting our national security. That's all very, very important. But let's not forget that at the root of it, the basic of it, it's about this guy coming into this country meaning to do us harm. And he's just one. We've got over 8 million over the last 3 years.